Now, the Dragons, they've told Anthony Griffin to reapply for his job. I want to quickly step through the contenders here, but the big question is, will Anthony Griffin reapply for his job?
I think he will. I think he wants to survive because I can't really see another NRL club wanting to pick him up in a hurry. To me, this whole situation with the Dragons, it's not surprising that they've gone down this path. It's almost like the Dragons have been kind of keen on having Anthony Griffin as their coach from day one, which is hardly the greatest endorsement of the bloke you've got who want to turn things around after things went wrong with Paul McGregor. Look, I floated this about a month ago. I said that I thought that it's pretty clear that Anthony Griffin wasn't the preferred candidate for next year. I reckon they should probably tell him. Whether telling him he's got to reapply for his job after 3 rounds seems very premature to me. They had a great win against the Titans. I just think it brings a lot of there seems to be an argument that's going to bring stability to the club and bring stability to the team. How does that bring stability to the players? And how does it allow Anthony Griffin to coach at his best, knowing that how reactionary will he be trying to save his job? And when people are under pressure like that to coaching for their lives, it's hardly a great environment.
Is there a time frame around this?
I don't know. That hasn't been specified how long it's going to take. But this again, and I know we keep saying it on this show, but it comes down to the player market. The transfer system in rugby league. The lack thereof of a transfer system in rugby league. I know the RLPA think it's a quote-unquote restraint of trade. The NRL, and this is one of the stumbling blocks in their CBA discussions, the NRL want to cut that period by 8 months and bring it forward to June 30. So that's when you can start negotiating. But because clubs have to work so far in advance with their roster, and so many players now are signing more than a year before they even join their next club, clubs have to move on coaches that far in advance as well. And that's what this is like. The Dragons have been pushed into that corner. And that's why clubs and Parramatta have been doing it with Brad Arthur, are just going 1 year deal, 1 year deal, 1 year deal. So it's hardly a vote of confidence in the coach, but it's all done with the
it's a reflection of the
transfer system. But it's also trying to say to the player market, this is where we're thinking, when they're not at all. Because all these 1 year deals that they give coaches have got get out clauses anyway. So it's a mess that needs to be fixed up. So I think there's a real systemic problem with in the game that will help this type of situation with extending coaches out. But the Dragons are different, Matty. Like, the Dragons need a reset big time. And as I've written before, the coach is just one part of the problem there. They need a strong head of football. They need someone like a Gus at Bulldogs, or like a Shane Richardson or a Frank Panisi or whoever to come into that role, so they can take control of the football side of it, and can take control of the coaching side of it, and take control of the roster side of it. Because as it's sort of playing out at the Dragons, it's a slow-moving car accident. We've seen it for the last 3 years there.
Well, one of the further questions to that is what kind of coach could work under that scenario with a director of football over the top. So we're going to go through the contenders after this break. Just to finish off that conversation around the Dragons, the contenders, the names are always going to be there. Jason Riles, currently at the Roosters, will definitely have interest from Melbourne depending on what Craig Bellamy does. Ben Hornby, Shane Flanagan, Dean Young, Des Hasler, the names are in the mix. So who puts their hand up to reapply for this one? And who do you think the Dragons are really after here?
Well, it depends on who you talk to with the Dragons, because remember, that's a board that's split 50-50, St. George and Wynn Media, Corporation, whatever they're called. They're the other half owners of the club. I think there's definitely a push from people there for Jason Riles, who's done a great apprenticeship at Melbourne and the Roosters, the two leading clubs of the last 10 years, along with Penrith. Dean Young is highly regarded at the Cowboys. Ben Hornby has done great things since he joined South Sydney. The big question that as I've been told by some people, is it really a job for rookie coaches? There is something very appealing, though, of getting former players such as those three together.
Yeah.
It's even been floated to me the idea of a coaching trio of Riles, Young, and Hornby. I think that might be a little bit too much, a little bit what's going on at the Tigers. But yeah, I'm a Dragons man, as people know.
Yeah.
Like I'd be more than happy with any of those three to get involved. I don't think, as much as I think Shane Flanagan's a good coach, I don't know if that's the way they should go. I think you'll expect a very big push from Des Hasler, who is managed by George Mimas, who has strong links to that club. Where they go outside of that, I don't know. I know it was floated today about the possibility of making an approach to Craig Bellamy. I don't think Craig Bellamy will want to coach again after this year. I think his time might be done. I think not, and that's no disrespect to Craig. I think Craig's just been at it for so long, and you could see in his comments on the eve of the season, he just seemed like this might be the last goodbye. One of the great Jeff Buckley songs, by the way.
So let me throw this at you. If Jason Riles is the man most wanted, and this is all hypothetical, but if
It's
Jason
very
Riles
speculative. You blokes in the media like to speculate.
is the man most wanted at Melbourne, right? Let's just say he's the man most wanted at the Melbourne Storm.
No, well, I reckon Mark Brentnall's the P for that job down there.
You reckon that's it?
That's what they're saying.
Okay, forget about my hypothetical.
Well,
My
no.
hypothetical
But
was,
Riles is definitely
well, my
in the mix for
hypothetical
it.
was, what do the Dragons have to offer to get somebody like Jason Riles, for instance, if the Storm are chasing him as well? If you've got the Storm chasing any of these guys
Come
that we've
home,
just
Rolesy,
listed,
come home.
is that what they've got to offer?
Absolutely. But also the Dragons, what people forget is that despite the calamity of what's happened to that club ever since Wayne Bennett left, really, if we've fair income about it, apart from one good year under Paul McGregor in 2018, where they look, like they could have actually won the bloody thing. Not that I've thought about it, not that I've stewed on it. Is that they have one of the best junior nurseries still in the competition, and that's why Cameron Serrato was red hot for it. He really was, and the Dragons said, no, we'll stay loyal to Anthony Griffin. Look, I think the two factions at St George Illawarra, what I've been told by people on the board, is that they're getting on better than ever, which is a good sign. But they'll have to be to try and get the right coach. People need to remember that when they appointed Anthony Griffin, it was like they didn't have any other choice. I mean, they tried to sniff out Paul Green at the last minute to see if he would be interested in going there. So it was hardly the biggest vote of confidence in Hawke. For whatever reason, whether you think Anthony Griffin can coach or not, it just hasn't worked. We've just seen a few things in the last couple of years that suggest that he's not the right man for the job there anymore. That said, I feel sorry for him because it's round 3. They've had one bye, one win, one loss. They were probably the better team against the Broncos until the last 20. So it's the timing of it is, I've got to say, strange, but it's going to be a good old circus at the Dragons. For the next couple
that
of
was
months,
going to
like
be
it
my
always
final
is.
question. Is now the time to start this? And for whatever reason, they've decided to do that. They've got reapplications and applications coming their way, which means there's questions until a decision's being made. If they don't understand that now, they never will. It's as simple as that. Or they're not worried about it, which they should be.